Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Election day is tomorrow, and we are joined by a candidate for the United States Congress. Her name is Gloria Negrete-McLeod. She is a member of the California State Senate. We will also be joined by Rusty Bailey. He is a Riverside Council member. He is running for mayor of Riverside. And then we'll be joined by Brad Mitzelfelt, a member of the San Bernardino Board of Supervisors. But we first start with Gloria Negrete-McLeod, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I must say I was quite surprised to learn that the mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, has decided to support you in your race in Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County for Congress. I know you didn't know it was going to happen. It was an independent expenditure, but what do you make of it?
Well, I didn't know what to make of it. We had heard rumors earlier that somebody was going to play, but until you actually see something, you don't know what's going to happen.
And as I understand it, the reason he is supporting you is because he perceives that you are a moderate.
He perceives that I'm able to work across the aisle, that I'm a little bit better on gun control, that I supported gay rights, and that I'm able to work on both sides of the aisle, and I guess that would be a moderate.
And what's interesting is in your race, you are running against another Democrat.
That's correct.
And so what he perceives is that other Democrat, Joe Baca, is less moderate than you are, and so he's banking on you being able to bridge that bipartisan gap.
I think so. It has worked for me in Sacramento, where I've been there for the last 12 years. Being able to work with my colleagues, that is something we have to do. I mean, in my district, I don't just represent Democrats, I represent Republicans, Independents, everybody.
And I have heard that. I mean, I have spoken with Republican members, and they have spoke charitably of you. They have spoke kindly of you, and that's not common. I mean, usually there's a lot of rancor between the parties. Why is it that you've been able to get along with folks on both sides of the aisle? I mean, I hate to stereotype, but if you'd look at the record, you would think you're Latina, you would come from a more liberal bent, but no, you have not been that way.
Well, I think we are what we grow up with. My mother and father were middle of the roaders, middle class people, and I think that's what I've stayed.
So what do you make generally of this flood of money from independent expenditures? Because truly, you did not know that this was going to happen. So what do you make of this new way of politicking? Well,
as my opponent has also been a recipient of IEs from the anesthesiologist.
Of all organizations.
Yeah, so he was a recipient. I was only a recipient of $64,000. He was a recipient of $100,000, plus that he raised about $900,000 of special interest money from Washington.
But do you think it corrupts politics when you have these independent expenditures coming in? They're unaffiliated with the candidate?
Yes, I think sometimes because you have no relationship with them whatsoever, that they can't skew your own message.
Right, you can't say what they're... No. You have no involvement in what they're going to say. None.
None. So they can actually skew you and kind of put you in somewhere where you didn't want to be, or that's not really what you believe.
Yes, be careful what you wish for in terms of independent money. I want to shift gears and talk about pension reform, which in many ways was seen as a bipartisan effort in Sacramento. Republicans and Democrats came together ultimately to pass pension reform. What do you make of this historic piece of legislation?
Well, it was something that was needed. Again, in my district, people had talked about pension reform, but it wasn't the overwhelming thing in my district. But it's good that we move forward with pension reform, and let's see where we go. There's still more work, I think, to be done.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because some have said it was a dramatic first step. Others have said it was a waste of time. It was so meager, why even bother?
Well, as you know, the governor had put with us a 12-point plan.
Right. That the Republicans adopted word for word.
That's right. But then when we gave him what we thought was better than his 12-point plan, he said, that's not what I really wanted. So we went back, and then he had like 7 points of his 12-point plan
that he really wanted
were initiated. And the one that everybody was talking about was the what was
401ks?
The 401ks
Yes.
didn't actually even come to pass. He said that, no, take that off the table. That's
interesting.
not really
Right.
what I want.
As you may know, in Los Angeles City, former Mayor Dick Reardon is looking to push a ballot initiative that would create a 401k style plan for city pensioners. But I do want to ask you more generally about pensions. There's no doubt, I mean, we have nonpartisan, bipartisan sources saying that this plan will save, 8 figures, billions of dollars, but it's in the future.
That's right.
The problem is, under the law as we see it today, you cannot affect current pensioners' negotiated plans.
That's what the courts have opined, that you cannot take something away from somebody that they've earned.
Is that something we need to look at?
It could be the governor wanted, a more, what we talked to him about, he actually wanted more, but I think he realized, and he's a lawyer,
Right.
He understood that you can't go back and take something away from somebody what they've earned.
One area that was not touched in this pension reform debate was healthcare costs, which continue to spiral. And so is that an area that we need to look at? I'm not really clear if the healthcare reform passed by the Congress, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, will impact that enough to create savings that the state needs.
I don't know, but I think the governor, perhaps once he gets reelected, that'll be another charge that he'll attack.
Well, we'll see if he gets reelected. And many folks are looking towards 2014 and whether the governor will run for reelection. And I have heard folks say that if Prop 30 does not pass, that the governor may just say, I'm done. I've had enough. The state has spoken clearly, and I don't think I can do my best work if Prop 30 doesn't pass. As you know, that is the governor's tax initiative, increase sales tax by 1/4 cent for 4 years, taxes on the wealthy for 7 years. What do you think about that?
I think that if it doesn't pass, then the trigger cuts will come in and education will be hurt.
And let me ask you, because I've really thought about this, and I don't take a position on ballot initiatives, on candidacies, but it seems to me if the voters vote no on Prop 30 tomorrow, they have spoken. And what they have said, because the governor has been very clear, that they're okay with UC tuitions going up, with CSU tuitions going up, with CSU acceptances going down, with 3 weeks of the school year being eliminated. And that's what they've said.
Well, that's what they say now. But should that come to pass, we'll see if that's really what they say.
But my point is, and I don't mean to be pedantic or otherwise, but the voters have spoken. And is it the role of government to kind of swoop in and try to fix what the voters have said? I mean, the governor has been very clear. And so if the state votes no, they know what's going to happen. There's no bait and switch here. So I mean, look, if you ask me, we're going to cut the 3 weeks, tuitions are going to go up, enrollment's going to go down. That's what you wanted. And so is it really the role of the legislature to fix that? Oh, I know you voted no, but you didn't really want that.
No, I think the governor has been very clear. If they don't pass his initiative, then those things will come to pass, and then that's what will be. Will be what will be.
But do you believe that Sacramento will start scrambling to try to undo that? Oh, we'll figure, because here's what voters are saying. Well, yes, I voted no, but there's money somewhere. The Parks Department had money, this department had money. You'll find money somewhere. More efficiencies.
Well, I don't know how you can do more efficiency when I think reports have said that California is one of the leanest states with state workers. So I don't know what I think people think there's actually some magic bag somewhere with money, but there really isn't.
As we conclude, and I know that your voice is soft, so I'll make it quick. How have you enjoyed this run for Congress? Are you enjoying the larger electorate that you're speaking with?
No, it's actually a smaller electorate.
Oh, right, I forgot that state Senate districts are bigger than congressional districts.
So no, it's kind of the same people. I represent 86% of the people.
Her name is Gloria Negrete-McLeod, member of the California State Senate, running for Congress. The election is tomorrow. Don't forget to vote. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Rusty Bailey, a candidate for Riverside Mayor. I'm Brad Pomerantz. We'll be right back. Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. We are back with Rusty Bailey. He is a council member in Riverside running for mayor of Riverside. Again, that election is tomorrow. Sir, we wish you the best of luck. And I know you've been running hard for quite some time. I really want to talk to you about what you have learned about the people of Riverside, because your campaign has been known for walking. I mean, you have been walking and walking and walking. So you're talking to Riversiders.
Right.
What have you learned about Riversiders, about the mood of this region?
Yeah, well, you know, we're pushing 20,000 doors right now. The Team Bailey campaign has been out since the beginning of the year, knocking and walking, and hopefully, you know, we're going to push through between today and tomorrow to 20,000 doors. And we've learned that for the most part, Riversiders are proud of their city, and they are appreciative of the investments we've made in the Renaissance and otherwise. You know, obviously, there's always places to improve, and certain areas of the city that, you know, feel like they need a little bit more support or a little bit more love. Yeah, and so I've learned that, and every ward has been visited, every neighborhood now
and there
has
are
been walked.
7 wards,
districts,
wards,
and 26 neighborhoods, and we've been to them all.
Now, I do want to ask you about whether Riversiders are a bit nervous about what's happened 20 miles down the road in San Bernardino. It is a very interesting tale of two cities, that they are so close together, that they really, I mean, they overlap in so many ways, and yet Riverside, as I understand it, is nowhere near bankruptcy, and San Bernardino has gone bankrupt.
Yep. A couple different reasons why we weathered the storms. First of all, our financial responsibility in Riverside. We've kept a $40 million reserve, which is 18% of the general fund, and so that keeps our bond ratings high. Second thing is our public utility and our ability to leverage our public utility and keep our financial footing, you know, and foundation solid in that respect.
But are there nerves? I mean, it's easy to describe the reasons why, but for the average citizen, they may not realize what the public utility does for the bottom line of this great city. So, you know, is it coming clear to them that it's all right, Riverside is fine, yes, the entire region was hammered, but we're okay?
Yes, and door to door and day to day, they are not worried about that because of what they have seen in our service and our responsiveness in the city of Riverside. They are not worried about a financial meltdown, and that has been clear to me, you know, through this campaign.
And what about housing generally? Because that is one area that continues to really struggle throughout this recovery, if that's what we want to call it. How has housing done? I mean, you're walking. You see, are there fewer foreclosure signs today than there were 9 months ago?
Yes, I just met with some realtors, and they said this is one of the shortest markets that they've had right now.
Oh, really?
And they have the least amount of homes for sale in the last 5 years. So Riverside is coming back. There are a lot of interest. There is a lot of interest in terms of home buyers in Riverside. The property values are starting to increase. And so, you know, I think we're ready for the next wave of development.
I want to speak with you about UC Riverside. There's good news and bad news out of UC Riverside. The bad news is, and some would call it good news, that Chancellor Tim White is leaving. He is now becoming the chancellor of the entire CSU system. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's you know, it's obviously we're very sad to see him go. He brought the swagger back, as he would say, to UCR, and in many ways that you know, it was translated into Riverside as well. The waves went beyond the campus of UCR into the rest of Riverside, and so we're sad to see him go. Congratulations to him.
But proud,
obviously.
I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. And on the tails is the UCR School of Medicine.
Let's do the good news, because just before he announced his selection, or the Board of Trustees announced his selection to the CSU chancellorship, we learned that the National Accrediting Committee had approved UCR's application to open a medical school.
That's right.
Sir, huge news.
Oh, that's the next economic driver for this city and this region.
Last year, declined. This year, approved. Really talk to me about how significant that decision by the accrediting committee is?
Well, you know, it's totally significant in terms of the development of our city and its industry and what is next in terms of our economy. And it's going to be tied to this medical school. Millions of dollars of investment will go into it. Jobs will come from it. Doctors' offices, which are $1 million economic impact a year, will spring, out from the medical school. And so we're going to have a new economic driver, an engine for Riverside that we haven't had before at the perfect time.
And what's stunning about this is the decision was made in October. Students come next September.
That's right.
This is not one of those, you got approved and 5 years down the line you'll see the new road or bridge.
That's right.
This is happening within a year.
That's it.
And so what does Riverside do? I mean, look, it's only 50 students to start, but still, presume you're successful tomorrow. Is there something that needs to be done to get everything in line, or is that what Tim White already did and you're ready to go?
He's lined it up. There are some facilities already up and running, and we actually have, a lot of people don't understand that we have a program, the HIDER program of medicine that educates pre-med students at UCR, and then sends them to UCLA to finish their program.
No, but as I understand it, it's 2 years of medical school at UCR, and then 2 years they would finish at UCLA.
That's right.
But now they're all here.
There it is, and that's going to continue to grow, and that's going to continue to benefit Riverside, and we thank UCR for that, and Tim White.
Right, okay, so let's presume you're successful tomorrow. I do want to talk to you about the future. We've discussed this before, but let's present the closing argument, as we would say. You would be succeeding Ron Loveridge. For those of you that don't know Ron Loveridge, I think it's fair to say he is an icon. Not only in this city and state, but nationally. I mean, he recently came off the presidency of the National League of Cities.
That's right.
This is a man who really has transformed Riverside into a backwoods, a prairie town, into a 21st century city.
Sure.
How do you follow a giant?
Good question. Very carefully, and you stay close to him. He's not leaving Riverside, and so I think that his, ability to lead this city and in terms of his facilitated leadership is what he calls it, and he has created that social capital and those connections and partnerships beyond our city that will serve us well going into the next few decades.
I must ask you. I think it's fair to say you would probably agree that when this race opened up, it was at a minimum seen as a close call. When Ron Loveridge endorsed your candidacy, that was a boost, at least in my eyes. Tell me what that has meant for your candidacy.
I think that has obviously given me the leg up and has brought other people on the team that would have not, unless he Loveridge endorsed me. So I think that the mayor was a game changer for the campaign in terms of financial support, as well as different groups around the city that continue to see him as that icon, as that leader of Riverside that has taken us into a different level and a world-class city status.
I know you're a government teacher. I loved my government teacher more than anything. I still think of him, and I understand you're quite popular at Poly High School. Technically speaking, is the mayor's job full-time?
Certainly, it is full-time, certainly.
Full-time job, full-time pay?
Full-time job, full-time pay, representing the entire city, 6th largest city in Southern California, 12th largest in the state.
So if you are successful tomorrow, are your students going to be saying goodbye to Rusty Bailey?
They have asked me that question, and it's been difficult for me to answer that. And in some ways, I don't know yet whether or not I will say goodbye at semester or years in. I'm going to see my government students this semester to the end. It ends in the middle of January.
Okay.
And December 4th would be the day that the new mayor comes into office.
And I must take some pride in the fact that you adopted a strategy that was used on me. On the first day of class, you give the government final. On the last day of class, you give the government final.
There it is. So how much did they learn in government class?
And what have you found?
I have found that, in many ways, they've learned a lot. Several people, or students of mine, remember that just like you and say, man, Mr. Bailey, thanks for teaching me about government.
So I got an 80 on the first day and 100 on the last day. My prom date got an 84 on the first day and an 80 on the last day.
And that happens.
It happens. His name is Rusty Bailey. He is running for Riverside Mayor. That election will be held tomorrow. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Brad Mitzelfelt. He is a member of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors. I'm Brad Pomerantz. We'll be right back on California Edition. Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Our guest, Brad Mitzelfelt, member of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, representing the high desert. Who says the high desert isn't booming? Things are actually happening in the high desert. Very exciting, innovative infrastructure projects. Tell us about, we'll start with the High Desert Corridor, and then we'll talk about what's now known as Express West.
Yes, well, these are two projects that have significant private and public partnerships involved. And so the
can I interrupt you? Because that's what's unique, I think, is that these are transportation projects. Right. One of them is public-private. One is completely private. That is not a model we have seen often in California.
Right. Well, you know, any infrastructure has some government involvement and partnership, and in this case, we have a potential high-speed rail or conventional rail that could run along the same right-of-way as the new High Desert Corridor. Now, the High Desert Corridor we've been working on for years is to connect Palmdale and Victorville.
It's an expressway.
Yes, 6 to 8 lanes of basically a brand new expressway. You have these fastest growing areas of two of the largest counties, right. LA County and San Bernardino County. And there's all this commerce that goes on, but there's a 2-lane or 2 to 4 lane rural state highway that snakes along the forest boundary between them, and it just doesn't accommodate the kind of growth and commerce that these two major areas have to offer.
So this expressway is going through the EIR process, is that right?
Yes, the High Desert Corridor is about halfway through, and the lead agency right now is the Los Angeles MTA. Their voters over in LA County passed a measure with significant funds to do the environmental work on this project.
Measure R?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's good news, no doubt. And assuming the EIR goes well and it passes, we will see construction when?
Well, that's the big question mark. The environmental work should be done by 2014, and that's usually the thing that takes the longest.
Of course.
But in this case, we have a project that isn't funded for construction. And so it's really up to San Bernardino and Los Angeles counties to allocate some of their funds. They're both self-help counties. They have sales tax money they can put on it.
Now, as you may know, LA County has Measure J on the ballot,
Yes.
which would extend Measure R's transportation sales tax increase of 0.5 cent for an additional 30 years. Right now, we're only in year 4. So if that passes, will that help get funding for this project through bonding or otherwise?
I think that it's likely. But the other component of it is that probably at least half, maybe 2/3 of the cost really is going to need to be financed, and that will be through private investment. And in recent years, we have actually had the financial industry, the financial sector, show some interest in funding this project. Now that means we're talking about toll lanes.
Right.
But you know, with the situation with the Transportation Trust Fund being gas tax not being increased and the money's just dwindling, I think the days of freeways are past, and we're going to have more and more tollways.
But will the toll be affordable for, you know, an average middle class family that needs to get to and from Victorville, Palmdale, whatever it may be?
Well, I think that if we determine that it won't be, then our local support would be challenged, and it all has to be studied. And there are numerous studies going on right now to study the feasibility. The need to move goods is a big part of it.
Right.
It's to get goods from that part of Southern California to the rest of the country through the high desert of San Bernardino County.
Now, what about the job impact? If we move forward, how significant would it be?
Well, it would support more than 40,000 new jobs.
Wow.
And
that's during construction and otherwise?
That is just new jobs as a result of of the expressway being there, not the construction. So it basically connects two areas that have major aerospace research and development, military, logistics, major commerce and economic activity between these two regions. They just need to be connected. And ever since the 30s, when the Auto Club envisioned the LA bypass, they called it, everyone has known that this is a missing link to growth, and it's really the final frontier of growth in Southern California.
Let's talk about even farther east, and that would be a connector between Victorville and Las Vegas. Yes. Now, let's face it, many of us in Southern California drive to Las Vegas. Coming home can be quite difficult. And so what we now know as the Express West is another project that you're excited about. Tell us about it.
Well, a lot of people know it as Desert Express, and their name is now Express West. They have all the approvals they need as far as environmental, as far as records of decision from the federal government. They are a railroad now, officially, and they've applied for railroad funding.
And this is a private project, no government funding at all.
Well, they're looking for loan guarantees.
Okay.
When they get a loan from the railroad funds that the federal government has to loan money to railroads, or to guarantee loans to the railroads. Now, that's where the public piece comes in, because if for some reason they weren't able to pay,
there's a default.
They default, then the taxpayers could be left holding the bag. So,
but do you feel as if this would be a wise use of a loan guarantee?
Well, I think it would depend on whether it was going to be a successful project, whether they would have the ridership. Here's the thing: what's missing with the high-speed rail system that's been envisioned for California is that, well, who's going to use it, and is it going to generate the revenues to make it profitable now? Or to make it self-sustaining. Mm-hmm. In this case, you have a cash cow. You have Las Vegas. Things can happen when you bring Las Vegas into the picture, when you're talking about private money.
But you start in Victorville, and so my question is, let's say Angelinos or San Diegans, do they drive to Victorville, leave their car there, and then hop on this Express West, or would it just be easier for them to just keep driving?
Well, from Victorville, you're looking at another 3 hours with no traffic. You're looking at 4 to 5 hours with traffic. The traffic's getting worse and worse. And the benefits of this is, one, if you have the train running, it takes one lane of traffic off the freeway. So it helps congestion. Right. The other thing it does is it's an 80-minute trip. So
it's fast.
And Victorville can accommodate the parking and the baggage and a terminal to handle this. Now, but the key to the future, or to the success of it, I think, is going to be the second leg, which will be Victorville to Palmdale. And that opens up LA because you have Metrolink service and maybe in the future some other rail service there in Palmdale.
What about high-speed rail as we've envisioned it? I mean, will this Express West get connected to the high-speed rail system now or in the future?
This, by law, will be able to connect with Metrolink as well as any high-speed rail.
So that's a net plus, no doubt.
Yes, and it's the key to opening up the San Bernardino County high desert to rail, because the Cajon Pass is too steep. You can't get Metrolink rail to the high desert through the Cajon Pass. It's got to come through the Antelope Valley. Okay, so will we see this in our lifetime, sir? That's a good question. I think if we're going to see the high desert corridor, we could see it within 10 years. I think that 10 years ago, I would have told you 30 to 40 years. I think we could see it within 10, maybe 20 years. What about Express West? I think we could see Express West in a few years. Really? Yes. So before the end of the decade? Yes, and that would actually help expedite the high desert corridor. They're all connected. Because they're working together on the right-of-way. I must ask you, you're concluding your term on the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors. We congratulate you on a successful 8 years, has it been? 6. 6 years. You won in a special election. How's it been for you as you look forward? What are you looking towards doing? Well, I was appointed, then elected later. Oh, I see. But it's been something I never expected to have the opportunity to do. It's a rare opportunity. It's been great. I think I've done things to help my community, and I think everyone should consider public service. Really? Absolutely. Well, public service or public office? That's a little different. Well, either. Public office is one step more of a sacrifice. Right. But you know, it's just a great opportunity. I'm glad to have had the privilege. Now, there are rumors swirling that this will not be your last moment in a public office. Can we expect to see a run in the future for other public offices? Well, I'm not planning to run for office, but there's a possibility that I could run for something else. You know, when I recently ran for Congress, and I couldn't use the funds I had raised to run for local or to run for state office. You never know. You never know. His name is Brad Mitzelfelt, member of the Board of Supervisors in San Bernardino County. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Thanks for watching California Edition.